Welcome everyone to another episode of Unearthing the Supernatural. So glad to have you here, and so thankful for all of you and others for supporting us on our adventures and asking some very interesting questions. Tonight, we're going to be answering some of those questions. We're also going to be taking a deeper dive into Unearthing the Supernatural's beliefs, some stories, and some lessons we've learned along the way. Maybe something we say or show on this journey might be able to help you on your spiritual path. Let's start right off into the thick of things with a very intense question many of you have asked. How do we, as Unearthing the Supernatural, protect ourselves during investigations? We're going to break this video down into a few parts. First, how we approach a location and the protections, or lack thereof, we use. Second, how do we finally protect ourselves when the time calls for it? Third, how do we make sure nothing follows us home? And the fourth part, closure. Section 1. How we approach a location and the protections, or lack thereof, that we use. A very unique technique you all might have seen is that we don't always wear our protections when we first enter a location. In fact, one of the more interesting things is we try to dismiss or remove all signs of us being gifted. The crew takes off all protections, pendants, armor, and we even try to avoid using protection herbs. All of that usually stays hidden in the vehicle. I even go so far as to try extremely hard to hide that I'm a medicine person, and to hide my guardian gifts. Now, why do we do this, and why don't we go dressed to the nines, or fully decked out in armor and weapons all the time? You see, we learned early on in our investigative career to look through the eyes of the spirits. How would you feel if you were a spirit and saw tall, large, armored-up natives with weapons and massive protections storming into your home? Especially to those evil beings who are trying to do nefarious things, and you suddenly get invaded by a SWAT team. At the very least, it's extremely intimidating.
Am I too scary for you? If so, is this Native American stuff too powerful for you? I'm sorry.
We found it difficult sometimes to connect to spirits. Several times they told us they actually fear us and our protections and ceremonies. So we learned to tone it back, to introduce ourselves as people first, trying to play it off as normal investigators with no real special gifts or authority. Another reason that we remove our armor and protections and don't go dressed to the nines right off the bat is a technique that we don't see a lot of investigators utilize. You see, we each have very unique stage names. These names we take great care to only use when we're near a location. This serves multiple purposes. We hide who we really are out of protection. We try to surprise any dark beings and lure them into thinking we aren't anyone special or gifted, like undercover cops. We can also see the power of spirits. If they can find out our real names or even our spiritually gifted names. Let's explore that last one a little bit more. Spirits are very active listeners. Often the more powerful ones already know that you are coming by reading what's called intention lines. Now, these lines are connections you make to a location or area just by desiring to go there. Like a prayer you say with your wants and desires, you send up an unconscious line of connection. The holy people, or the universe in general, sense that intention and determine a form of fate plan or travel plan. This is where spiritual animals or messengers can come into your path to warn you of incoming danger, or that other beings sense your intentions. Now, since the beings have read your intentions, sometimes they decide to get ready. They may or may not know who you are, but can get a sense of someone coming, like an eyes watching you type of feeling, but for spirits and locations. Now, once we get on location, the spirits scout out who has arrived, just like a kid looking out the window to see what guests have come to the home. They listen and hear for names, watch for quirks or mannerisms, and interpret body language. They then use a technique called Josh Jacosin, which translates to spirit reading. The more powerful beings use this technique to see what we have in our spirits, where we come from, what protections we have, what intentions we have, and even our past. Included in this they can learn our real names. Now it takes an especially powerful being to read into Josh Jacoson, seeing beyond what I try to hide, seeing our past and past transgressions, knowing everything we are, and even reading to some of our unplanned or unpinned fates. Especially once they learn our spiritual names. This means they can see deep into what we are trying to hide. This level is one we attribute to ancient beings, high-ranking warriors of both good and bad, high-access readers spirits, and just high-ranking or highly practiced beings. Hearing our spirit names makes us shiver, because we are dealing with something very intense and demanding our respect and careful movement and reactions. One must know the language, the songs, the movements of how to interact with the beings. Literally, for the life and spirits of you and your crew. Now, how do you know who or what you're dealing with? That's where the old ways and teachings come in. To be able to act accordingly, and how to ask, or even be worthy of asking. Usually we find out who and what we are dealing with throughout the investigation. We ask certain questions. We try to set off certain triggers or traps. We dive into the crossing of realms, and we test the ethereal attributes of the location. It's all a ceremony that we do to dance in the realms beyond our physical plane, and learn by doing. Section 2. How do we finally protect ourselves when the time calls for it? Okay, so what protections do we have that help us on investigations? First, we acknowledge our past. We have been given a lot of protection from our ancestors. A lot of songs and protection ceremonies were performed in honor of us. When indigenous people say a prayer, especially ones that are blessings and protections, they acknowledge what has come before them. A huge philosophical aspect of indigenous people is we think beyond ourselves. We think beyond just our kids or grandkids. We think many generations ahead, beyond our lineage, to those that we're not going to be able to see ourselves. We can still pray for them. And it is those prayers and protections that still take care of us, that are innate in us. They saw us and foretold of the many hardships we would face. Even when I pray, when I live my life, or I make any decisions, I think about my children, my future grandchildren, and the lineage beyond. I set their protections up. I pray for them. I want them to have the best shields and the most blessings I can possibly bestow on them. Our ancestors did that for us. It's up to us to do that for our lineage. Now, this is something that is not always thought about by all races, religions, or families. We were fortunate to have and be able to call upon those innate protections. Some of you may remember the late Pataya, my best friend, and the strongest of the warriors of our group. He was often called the spiritual punching bag during many moments in our investigations. He would always ask why they picked on him, and not us. I told him it was because we were fortunate to have that ancestral protection bestowed by our ancestors. It is innate and always on us. Some people are born with that luck. It is hard for him, but he said, I want to give that to my future lineage and make sure they are protected. He did this before he passed and took many steps to make sure his future lineage was protected. You should do this and think about this as well, for all things that you do in your life. Next, we step into our manifestations, who we are, and on top of our innate protections. From the moment of conception, there is a prayer and a thought of our lives. Things were enacted to make sure we were protected to come into this world. Throughout our young lives, we were fortunate to be exposed to many prominent people and protections. Fortunate to be part of many legendary ceremonies and blessings by elders who are now long gone. We grew up in that sacred space, and it was always a part of us. These things helped propel us to who we are, with experiences, teachings, blessings, protections, and overall familiarization with the realms beyond our own. So we talked about our blood, our muscles. Now let's get to the skin of it. The clothes and armor. Being a guardian, I have earned the right to wear certain regalia. Even the color black had to be earned to wear amongst the guardians. See, I earned these wares. Now pay attention to what I wear on investigations or ceremony. Often everything I have on has a teaching and a purpose. The headbands or hats, the pants, shirts, jackets, shoes, masks, even the cloth that hangs from the sides of us. All of it has a sacred purpose and teachings. Then we get into the armor that you see my pupils wear. I make sure there is some form of blessed protection of the physical sense to protect my pupils who are still learning the art of walking amongst the dangers of the realms beyond. If you see the crew in person, you may notice scars or battle wounds. Those are from many moments where the separation of the worlds wasn't always so separate. Moments where darkness and beasts let loose on myself or the crew.
It said turn around.
Why? Why do you want us to turn around?
There's something I'm not supposed to see in here. Gather your energy, come through clearly so I can understand you.
That was clear.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Good job.
Check it out. You want us to leave this room? We're not going anywhere yet.
What?
That was a force.
What?
That was a force.
What happened?
I think it wanted us to move.
Did it push you?
What happened? Did he get pushed?
I think he got pushed.
I wanted me to move, that's for sure.
Why did you do that to him?
God.
It's alright. Breathe.
I sent you in here earlier. I didn't come in here. You messed with my friend. You messed with me. What's your name?
We're not gonna stop.
Make him stop.
Make who stop? Me?
What's his name? Say his name.
Oh, man.
Breathe.
Come on now. Who did that?
That was major negative energy.
That made my heart jump when you did that.
It like full on pushed me towards this way.
Scared?
That was more intense than Bobby Mackey's, I'm not gonna lie.
Pataya wished to confront the dark enemy alone, demanding answers as to why he was forcibly shoved in the upstairs storage room.
I don't know if I saw a shadow or not.
What we do is very real, very serious, very dangerous. Everything has spiritual meanings and practical use. I can already hear some of the rebuttals. But why is it motorcycle armor? Because it's not that expensive for easy replacement if necessary, and it's lightweight. But other teams don't wear armor. Well, they most definitely should have something to protect themselves. The fact is, some of those dark beings don't find those other investigators to be a threat at all. They don't seem them to be a threat to anything that they're doing, and in fact, bring them even more victims to feed upon. When a dark being actually sees who can mess up their operation, they will fight back. Otherwise, they aren't worth their time. So why don't I wear armor? You may see me wear arm guards enlaced, but I tend not to wear armor because I need to move a little quicker and have a gift to see these beings fully. Now this is compared to the others in the crew, who sometimes have a harder time seeing those beings and being able to defend themselves. Also, I tend to draw attention and accept that if something is strong enough to get at me and to get through my training and my defenses, then it has earned my death. That being said, I still don't go blindly into battle. Experience has taught me to strategize, know what I'm getting into, prepare if necessary, and manipulate the battlefield and its elements to favor situations where I can stand. Alright, now let's dive into more objects we use outside of what we wear. We often have swords or blessed blades or weapons. These are blessed in very holy ceremonies with intensely sacred methods to be tools that can reach out and touch a spirit. These weapons and blades all have the ability to touch and defend ourselves against beings that seek to raise their weapons or teeth against us. They have been tried and tested in combat, have earned names, and have different uses and strengths per the situation. We also use objects such as arrowheads and obsidian to help protect us. Other things we use include bitter herbs, blessed ashes, both white and black, feathers, eagle claws, whistles, red sand, black sand, various crystals and stones, tobacco, pendants, rosaries, totems, figures, symbols, sigils, markings, and the list goes on for our protections. All are used for case by case, moment by moment, being by being situations. Section 3. How do we make sure nothing follows us home? Good job for making it this far, Unearthers. It's a lot of information and a lot of nuances that I hope you're able to get a taste of. But this isn't everything that we are and do by any means. Every investigation is unique, has new challenges, new beings, and is a brand new puzzle. Even locations on different days or times of year can be completely different from one another. A vast amount of possibilities and interactions. There is no cookie-cutter technique or method, but a wide array of ideas, tools, and techniques that we tend to utilize often. But what is something that we make sure we do with each and every investigation? Well, that would be the offering to conclude it all. Reach into your tobacco pouch and take a pinch of tobacco and pray with it. Tobacco offerings are essential and necessary step to conclude our ceremonies and investigations. As learners, which is something we will always be even beyond our time in this life, we are always thankful for any beings that choose to speak with us. We acknowledge the land, the air, the elements, even the presence of the night and the stars and moon, even the cold or the heat, the dryness or the humidity. From the smallest being to the highest, we acknowledge them. We give thanks to those beings that cross worlds to teach us and communicate with us. Even those that may have chosen to do battle, we still give thanks. Our journey is a sacred one, and every moment of it is a lesson and teaching. When you look back upon the location, you look back at the moments, no matter how difficult or tough, no matter how confusing or strange. You reach into your tobacco pouch and give thanks for being alive and present to say you made it through. You give thanks for your life and the blessings to keep it. When you say your prayer, you give thanks to all these beings. You then acknowledge what you have in your hands. What you have is a currency, a blessing, a direct line to the Creator. What you're doing is acknowledging the power in your hands and what it could mean to those beings you acknowledged and interacted with. Many starving to connect with loved ones, long into the happy hunting grounds. Many wish to get that second chance. Some even want to enjoy the fresh taste and soothing properties that tobacco has, and some want to exchange it for other things on the spiritual market. Others just wish to be thanked and thankful for themselves you are offering something in return for their time and conversation. You see, tobacco is so much more than just a plant. It is more valuable than gold in the spiritual world. What you are doing is often something that hasn't been done for them or hasn't been done in a very long time. You see, respect for the other side has been pushed aside since the forced relocation and genocide of the indigenous people. Many spirits are starving for something that was constant for them every day. Many have been lost to time or taken out by battle or left to other duties or realms. Be thankful for the time and teachings you have been given. Give that offering always. When you give the tobacco offering, you are making an exchange, a deal if you will. These words, spoken in any language, have a purpose and an understanding. You give this offering and always state, in exchange for this offering, you are not to attach yourself to any of my beings, any of my belongings, myself, my spirit, my body, my people, or anything attached to my entity. We draw this line in the sand and make this deal. You take this tobacco and enjoy it, share it, spread it, use it, and in exchange, we go our separate ways, with only knowledge and teachings to tell to others. That is a proper phrasing to make the deal. Be sure to include your thanks around that message, but that message is key and paramount to protecting yourself. It has always been an understanding of the natural laws that you use and the ceremony you just completed. Can you use things other than tobacco for the offering? Yes, you can. You can use food, corn pollen, cornmeal, personal item, just something that you hold value or know that the spirits hold value in. Now, tobacco is the most preferred for ghost hunts and investigations because you are going to seek knowledge and interaction. Therefore, that is a proper protocol whenever you seek things, even amongst medicine people and other knowledge keepers. It's the same on the other side. This offering is the key to making sure nothing follows us home. We have never had anything follow us home that we didn't want. No attachments or curses or lost souls. We do, however, notice that some of our footage does have some sort of power or energy to it. It's an interesting topic we're still researching, but nothing that is permanent or wild. Instead, it is like a firework that is still hot, an energy that gets captured from a strong moment that lives on in the data inside a hard drive. Section 4. Closure. You hear about how we at Unearthing the Supernatural protect ourselves and operate during our investigations. It is just a scratch of the deep teachings and philosophies that we go into. That being said, what you are seeing, hearing, or reading is a great tool to help you even in your everyday life. Hopefully something we have here helps you on your journey and gives you a little more insight into who we are. Thank you again, Unearthers, for your time and attention and for passing on these sacred teachings and lessons. Remember to think beyond written history. We are a few of many, one story of thousands. We are Unearthing the Supernatural.